Antonio Conte is fighting to keep his title and, if reports are to be believed, his job. Now, a packed schedule means he'll have to do a fair bit of juggling, but a successful title defence also needs a solid skeleton of squad staples. We've put together the starting 11, which we think gives Chelsea the best chance of staying on top this season. In goal, surprise, surprise, Thibaut Courtois. Chelsea did, of course, boot Begovic off to Bournemouth and bring Caballero in from City this summer, but all that means is that there's a new pair of hands playing second fiddle at the bridge. Big man Courtois seems to get a big arm or a big leg in the way of everything that threatens his net, and that's why he had a big hand in Chelsea's title win last season. He might wear the number 13 shirt, but there's no question that he's the Blues' real number one. A touch of tactical genius from Conte last season, which radically changed his side's fortunes after a disappointing start, was his reshaping of the back line. With three deep defenders supported by two roaming wing-backs, Chelsea seemed able to cover every inch of turf without opening themselves up. Central to the success of that system was David Luiz. The Brazilian had been prone to errors during his first spell at Chelsea, and he had been playing pedestrian football in the French league since leaving the bridge in 2014. So re-signing him last summer was a risky move. But Luiz looked a much better player than he had been, and he repaid Conte's faith with a solid season. The days of sideshow David the sloppy jester are done, and Luiz will again play an important role at the back for Chelsea this year. Now, while Gary Cahill wears the captain's armband for the Blues, at 31 he's not getting any sharper, and as his sending off on the first day of the season showed, his tendency to make a reckless challenge is not getting any less pronounced. So we have someone else in mind. Antonio Rüdiger, whose signing Chelsea announced this year with perhaps the most excruciatingly stilted, humorless and bizarre video we've ever seen, is the future of Conte's back line. After a breakthrough season with Roma and a solid run out in Russia as Germany won the Confederations Cup, Rüdiger has taken the step into the Premier League in his stride. Andreas Christensen has had a fair bit of game time in the Premier League so far this season, but competition is tight at the back and the Dane is really there to provide squad depth. He'll be next to Cahill on the bench for us, as it is instead Cesar Azpilicueta who rounds off our back three. The Spaniard played every minute of Chelsea's winning campaign last time around, and Conte knows that he doesn't need to fix what isn't broken. Solid in the tackle and comfortable in possession, Azpilicueta is an important asset for the champions, and provided he stays fit, which he can usually be relied on to do, he'll again be a vital cog in the Blues' defence. Now, the much vaunted back three couldn't have done their jobs last year if it wasn't for the solid support of their roving wing-backs. The wide men covered plenty of ground in attack and defence, and their role is going to be as important as any if Chelsea are to be successful again this season. A new option on the left in the shape of Baba Rahman was brought in from Schalke this summer, but given that the Ghanaian is relatively unproven and inexperienced, we don't think he's the best pick. We're going with Marcos Alonso. His signing last summer was seen as a questionable one, but he proved that he belongs to that class of Spanish players with the grit to handle the dirty day-to-day of English football. He was, after all, steeled in the unforgiving fires of Bolton and Sunderland. Alonso has played 4 out of 4 so far in the Premier League this year, and his match-winning brace against Tottenham means that he's already written his name into Chelsea legend. Now, Victor Moses smashed it out on the right last time around, and so far this season he's held his own in the lineup. But he's not much of a defender, and when the going gets tough, that's going to Zappacosta him dearly. There's a new face in the lineup in the form of recent arrival from Torino, Mr. Davide Zappacosta. The 25-year-old announced himself at Chelsea with an accidental screamer against Qarabağ in the Champions League this week, and Conte heaped praise on his compatriot. Moses' time as the chosen one is up. Chelsea's central midfielders are almost on their own in the middle of the park, so they'll need to keep their wits and their techers about them to avoid getting mobbed. Fortunately, Conte's men can handle themselves pretty well. N'Golo Kante has been the Premier League revelation of the past 2 years. He made history with Leicester, left and continued to make history with Chelsea, becoming the first player ever to win back-to-back titles with 2 different clubs. His limitless energy, tackling ferocity and technical competency in the centre of the park were a vital component in both successes. Football Writers Player of the Year, PFA Player of the Year and Chelsea Player of the Year last season, N'Golo must know that there's no one who can take his place. Needless to say, it's a tough job for anyone to keep a seasoned professional like Cesc Fabregas out of a spot, but we think his place alongside Kante could be in danger. Chelsea were of course among the pack of Premier League wolves who dined on Monaco's title-winning squad over the summer. They left the feast having picked up Bakayoko, whose box-to-box running means that Conte would do better to keep Fabregas up his sleeve for use as an impact substitution. The manager has said that Bakayoko will need time to settle in, but he's already made 4 appearances since signing for £40 million back in July, and given that he's every bit as tenacious and clever as Kante, we could see a rock-solid partnership emerging in Chelsea's midfield. There's plenty of attacking talent knocking around at Chelsea, so even after hacking off the rotting limb Diego Costa, Conte has still got a job to do working out who to drop. This is how we think his best forward line looks. For a little while now, Conte has had an awkward hole to fill out on the left after Eden Hazard fractured his ankle on international duty back in June. Now though, he's slowly bringing Hazard back into the fold, and while he won't want to be rushing and risking things, it's clear that for Chelsea to be at their best, the Belgian needs to be there. The manager managing to get the best out of Hazard last season was a key element in Chelsea's success, and it needs to happen again if a title defence is going to be on the cards. On the other wing, there's likely to be a heated battle between Willian and Pedro. Willian has caused plenty of damage during his 4 years at Chelsea, but he couldn't find his best form last season. Meanwhile, Pedro's powers only seem to be increasing. He's a tireless worker, a team player and a dangerous weapon in front of goal that Conte will continue to be keen to deploy. Exhibit A, that opening goal against Qarabag on Tuesday night. Now, in all but salary, Diego Costa is no longer a Chelsea player. His days at Stamford Bridge are done. It's going to have to be someone else leading the line for the Blues this season. Batshuayi had a disappointing season last time around and will be hoping for a bigger role. Unfortunately for him, he's up against Morata. 4 games into the season, Morata has already bagged himself 3 goals in the Premier League, and he looks well on his way to justifying his price tag. Not that it needs much justifying in a year where £58 million seems like petty cash. He's fast, clinical, dangerous from distance, and at just 24 could be one for the future if he gets the experience he needs this season. We're sure that he's Conte and Chelsea's best option. Now then, Chelsea fans, what do you say to that? Let us know if you agree. We know you'll let us know if you disagree, and we very much look forward to reading it. Till next time.